What's up, everybody? This is the Uncanny Omar. Thank you so much for joining us for this special Black Widow movie review. We'll be doing a non-spoiler and a spoiler part. With me is this lady right here. And who are you, lady?
I am Ødfel. I'm a cosplayer and comic nerd, and I occasionally appear on this channel with Matt, my ex, so I'm happy to be here to talk about a movie this time.
Yeah, we'll be talking about Black Widow. So, if you have not seen Ødfel, she is an awesome cosplayer. We'll talk about how awesome she is here in a little bit. But she's also appeared with me on Map My X, along with Peter and Riley, whenever we do that, where we go and map out all these X-Men omnibus. And we're trying to still lock down a date for the next one. Hopefully, I think it's maybe end of July when we're going to do it. So looking forward to that. We're doing X Factor. But today we're going to be talking about Black Widow. And if you're wondering, Amanda's on maternity leave, so that's why she's not here. So she's taking some time off, and totally much love to her. Hopefully everything is going well. But we're here to talk about Black Widow. How did you see this movie, first of all? Let's talk a little bit about it. And by the way, we are going to be talking about non-spoilers first, so if you want to join in for that, and then we'll let you know ahead of time when we're talking about spoilers. How did you go see this movie? Did you watch it on your couch? How'd you watch this movie?
You know, I watched it in a very, very normal way. I flew out a week early. You know, I got to fly out a week early and see it at a red carpet.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, I was at the world premiere fan event for it. It was really fun.
Okay. So how in the world did you go see this in the world premiere? Like, you went to go see it last week at the world premiere.
Yeah, it was the June 29th, so super early compared to when the movie actually dropped. So I've had my lips sealed for a while now about it. But yeah, I honestly have no idea how they found me because I hadn't cosplayed Black Widow at that point. But I was checking through my emails and I saw an email about the fan event and I was like, yeah, okay. So
you said yes.
I messaged one of my good friends who cosplays Red Guardian and I'm like, I don't have a Black Widow, but do you want to go? So I ended up borrowing a friend's costume last minute and we flew out and we had a great time. So
okay, wait. So they had not seen your Black Widow costume yet.
Yeah, I straight up, like, that is my friend's costume that I borrowed for this event. I have never cosplayed Black Widow. I've cosplayed a lot of Marvel.
Like, I know you have. Yeah.
Wanda, but I was like, I don't know if they found me through Wanda or what, but I was like very surprised to see it because yeah.
They flew you out for the was it X-Men? Which X-Men movie did you fly out?
Dark Phoenix, because I was one of the few people that had the suit. And both times I've had to pay for the plane tickets, so I don't know if they think I live in LA, but I'm not going to correct them. So
yeah, when you get invited to go to the red carpet premiere, of course.
But yeah, that one they messaged me because they saw like I had the movie suit. But this time I'm just like, I will take it, sure.
I mean, I would too. I wouldn't have said anything.
Yeah, so, it was a blast.
I bet. So how was that experience? First of all, did you get to see anybody like for the world premiere? Did you see any directors? Like, did you see Scarlett Johansson? Did you have to sign anything saying, I'm not going to say anything, I'm not going to spoil anything for this movie?
I did have to sign something, but it was for something adjacent to the premiere that I still can't say anything about. And I don't even know if it'll be public or if it's just for like inner Disney stuff. So, but that's like a separate thing. And then, so the LA premiere, they had 3 premieres simultaneously in the same day. London got Florence Pugh, New York got David Harbour, and then we got Kevin Feige, Clark Gregg, and the production team. None of them had Scarlett Johansson, though, which is interesting. I don't know.
Too busy.
Yeah, and I heard recently she just announced that she's pregnant, so it could have been that, too.
Or it could have been.
Yeah, so that was interesting. I didn't get to see Feige until he came out on stage, like, right before the movie, but I know some people got to, like, bump into him and chat with him for a while. But I got pretty close to Clark Gregg. He was sitting in, like, the seat behind me, so that was pretty cool to see.
For those people that don't know who Clark Gregg is, who is that?
He's Agent Coulson, and I'm pretty sure he was there just as a guest as well, because he wasn't on stage with the other people. But it was really cool getting to see him, because he's kind of like the MCU glue at this point. So
he really is. I mean, so much so that they created a character for him in the comic books.
Yeah.
Usually the other way around, right? Like we go and see these movies because they're based on the characters that they created in the comic books. With Agent Coulson, it was a lot different. Agent Coulson was made in the comic books because of the popularity of the movie. So I thought that was cool. That's awesome. I'm sure everything else was awesome. Did they give you a hat? Did you get that hat there?
We did. So this hat is from the premiere. We got little swag bags. So it says.
Now I'm gonna highlight you so you can showcase your. Look at that.
Yeah, super cool. Had to wear it, talking Black Widow.
Got like a commemorative like popcorn bag.
Yeah, we got these, and it had like socks, pins, and a little cupcake in it too.
Did you eat the cupcake or did you keep it?
I still have it. It's in like a little thing, and I keep staring at it, and I'm like, I need to eat this, and then I forget about it. But it looks like it's red velvet, probably.
Red velvet, right? That actually makes sense.
Really cool. They had a whole bunch of like photo ops and stuff set up, so that it was a really fun day.
All right, so here's my story. I did not get to fly out. There was no cosplay. My YouTube channel's not big enough for them to fly me out to the world premiere. So I got to watch it in movie theaters. This is the first movie, though, that I've seen. Oh, my goodness. Well, my little cousin, she rented out a movie theater to watch Raya. Is that it? The Last Dragon? And last year, Amanda and I went to go see New Mutants. But I have not seen a Marvel or a movie in the movie theater in over a year. So I thought, well, let's go see maybe Fast and the Furious. I know that's going to draw a lot of people, and it did. But I thought the MCUs was going to bring people back to the theater. Whether they were cautious before, like, nah, I think I'm going to stay at home. I think a lot of people are going to go see Black Widow in the theater. And it wasn't packed like most Marvel movies on opening night on Thursday night. But it was pretty full. It was pretty full. I was excited to see it though. I was back at the theater, and that honestly that may have affected the way that I rate this movie. If this movie had just come out in the middle of no pandemic and all the other movies, I don't know how I would have enjoyed this movie. But I guess we'll talk a little bit about that. So
yeah.
All right. So let's talk about this movie. So here we are. It's now our first movie in, oh my gosh, the MCU movie in what, 2 years? It's been 2 years since the last one?
I think so. I think Far From Home was the last one, so it's been a hot minute.
Yeah, Far From Home. And then we get Black Widow, which makes this a pretty interesting movie because, well, spoilers for anybody that has not seen Endgame, she dies in that movie. So how did they make this movie? All I will say before going into the spoiler territory is that this movie does take place in different times before Endgame and then another time, but during the spoiler part we can talk about that. So that's how she's able to come back, and we find out that, hey, she has this extended family outside of the Avengers. And we get to find out, her relations to these people. There's a flashback explaining a little bit about her, and then we get to see her interaction with this new character named Yelena. Now, Yelena in the comic book is a lot different than she is in the movie, so we're sticking to the movie verse in the MCU. Who she plays, I don't think it's been spoiled in the trailer, so I'm not going to say who she's playing. Just know that it's Yelena. So after that, there's a lot of fighting because there are people that are after Black Widow, and yeah, it was pretty interesting. I'm trying to word this without spoiling anything.
It's really hard, honestly, because I feel like a lot of it connects things in the MCU nicely. Mm-hmm. And also the trailers were so vague and showed so little of the film that it's really hard to talk about plot points that you like without really revealing anything.
Right. And I think the trailer did do a good job, explaining the premise of the movie. You know that somebody's after her. You know that somebody's after Yelena. You see the big characters that are in this movie. Man, like David Harbour. David Harbour's in this movie. Aged like a fine wine. Rachel Weisz is in this movie. You don't know who they play yet. Oh, well, you see David Harbour dressed up in the Red Star outfit. They all have Russian accents too. So what's going on? What's the big secret? How is Black Widow related to any of this? So I thought it was pretty interesting. It was a fun movie. I will say that.
Yeah.
It was a fun movie.
It did a really good job being within the action thriller genre. Like, I would put it up there with like the same thematic values as like Winter Soldier was. It's like the same genre as that, and I thought it did a very good job within the genre of that, while also having like a very strong female-led plot line. Like, the whole plot was very intuitive to like being a woman without kind of beating to death the idea that Black Widow is a woman superhero. Like, it treaded the line very well without saying too much about the plot. I'm
going to say something really quick, though, that I'm sure is going to upset some people, but it's part of this review. I don't think it's going to spoil anything, but I had a bad feeling from the opening. I was watching it with my brothers. I had a bad feeling from the opening whenever they started playing Smells Like Teen Spirit. And it's not the Nirvana version of Smells Like Teen Spirit. And I was like, all right, what's going on? This is a little too much. Or they're butchering Smells Like Teen Spirit. It's a slowed down version, and I was wondering if that was going to set the tone of the movie. Luckily, it really didn't. It was just the very beginning, and I get why they played it, because that particular scene takes place in a specific time. To me, this felt more like a Yelena movie, though, than it did a Natasha movie, if that makes sense. I went to see it with my kids, too. And they did really good because, considering it's an MCU movie, there were some slow times. There was a lot of slow times when there's a lot of talking, a lot of dialogue, not a lot of action. It was basically character interaction. And they weren't really bored. So that was good. I'm glad that it kept them entertained. So the last act I thought was pretty fun. The big reveal. There was something that she did in this movie that I really enjoyed that goes back to the way that I liked her, the way that she was written during Avengers, Joss Whedon. There was some actual, because, part of being a big part of this cast is that you kind of get overshadowed by the God of Thunder, the guy that can turn into a giant monster when he's full of rage, or the captain. All these other characters steal the spotlight from you, and you don't have that. And I think that's what ended up happening to her character arc, even to an extent in Endgame. But I thought they used her in a really cool way in this particular movie, which of course I think they would have to, but it reminded me of the way that she was used in Avengers, and I'll get more into that when we get into the spoilers part of this review. But I did like that.
Yeah, I really thought they finally let her shine, but it was kind of a shame because I feel like Yelena outshined her in her own movie. Because, like, I really walked out being like, holy cow, I'm excited for Yelena. Not so much like, holy cow, Black Widow. So, like, it was really nice to see her, but I know they're also probably positioning Yelena for future projects, but it was kind of like, wow, they really just let Yelena kind of overshadow, I feel like, a lot of the star power, I guess, of the movie. Like, a lot of times I was way more interested.
She was so good. She had, some of the lines were a little bit cringy, but that's okay. But she did have the best lines. She had the best lines, and I've been a big Florence Pugh fan for a long time. I went to go watch Little Women, and she's amazing in everything that she's done. She was in Midsommar. And she's no different here. And I'm so ready for wherever she shows. When we get to the spoilers, we'll talk about that too, where our theories are going to go. But man, it did feel like a Yelena movie, like setting up her character, who she is, and what her capabilities are. So I like that about this. It did feel like less of a Scarlett Johansson Black Widow movie, and I'm okay with that because I didn't know how I was gonna feel about this movie when I saw I remember watching the trailers, or I'm sorry, the announcement of the movie, and it was like, "Hey, this movie's coming out," and I was wondering how. Like, first of all, she died in Endgame. Is she even relevant? I mean, this movie feels like it should have come out like maybe right phase 1, right? Like you think phase 1,
Yeah,
setting up Avengers, but it didn't, and
or
it
if
came
it
out.
came
How's it
when
going to
it
work?
was set.
How's it going to work? But I think
Yeah.
overall, I think the writers did a really good job of writing around specific things that they couldn't talk about, shoehorning. And it doesn't really feel like shoehorning, but I thought they did a really good job of writing the characters in specific scenes that play off of other movies. I'll say that. I thought that was cool. I'm glad that they did that. They touch upon that. Go ahead.
Speaking of the Smells Like Teen Spirit intro, I don't know why I couldn't take it seriously, but the entire time it was playing, I just kept seeing the intro to Godzilla versus Kong. Like, it's almost identical to like how they did the opening with all the different like kaiju, and I couldn't unsee it, and I was just sitting there the whole time like, what? No. And it took me out for a second, but then once the movie hits, it's fine. But yeah, the intro was just kind of strangely long, I feel like.
Yeah, you're right. Setting up that first part, setting up the pretty much the backbone of what this movie is based on, because so you have as the writer, you have a lot of tough parts to do, right? You have to introduce a group of characters that have always been a part of this character, and on top of that, you have to make this character fit into a timeline where she's still relevant and still introduce new elements and surprises, because how do I word this? Where her beginning and ending are as far as the timeline of the MCU. So when this movie takes place, like, how much can you really cover to make your character grow?
And I feel like a lot of the visuals that happen while that song plays are kind of relevant, but it's just like, since they let the whole song play out, it's just really long to sit there and kind of watch essentially a slideshow. And that was one of my kind of like, I liked the movie overall, but that was one of those weird moments where I was like, this is kind of strange.
So before we go to the spoilers part, which is happening here in a minute, I will say that I did enjoy this movie. I'm glad I went to go see it in the movie theater. I'll give my final score. I'll put a timestamp in the description of the video too, so people that haven't seen it yet can go skip to our final thoughts without spoilers. Because we are going to talk about spoilers. We're going to talk about Easter eggs and end credit scenes and where we think this is going to go. Obviously, we know where this is going to go. I mean, there's no doubt. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm glad to go. I went to go see it in the movie theater. I think it's a better experience going in the movie theater. I watched Wonder Woman at home, and it was a mess. I'm not saying it was a good movie, but I think I would have enjoyed it more in the movie theater. What about you? Did you like it overall? And then we can go and give it an actual grade out of 10 when we do our spoilers talk.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I tend to prefer Mystic Marvel a lot more, but for what it was and going into it knowing it was going to be kind of more of a street level spy fighting action thriller, I thought it did really good. I liked the movie. I liked the general plot. It's a plot that I feel like we couldn't have gotten a handful of years ago without spoiling anything. Like the themes in it are very 2021. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think definitely if I can suggest anything, watch it in theaters. A lot of the combat has really, really good, like, kind of bass drops and hits and sounds that just are better with the reverb, I feel like. Mm-hmm. I've seen it in theaters twice now, and both times some of the action scenes just have a lot of weight to them when you have kind of the surround sound with you.
I didn't even think about the sound. I think this movie, without spoiling much, has one of my favorite, like, BGMs. The background music is solid. Because you have this iconic, the Avengers theme by Alan Silvestri, is very iconic these days, and it's hard to like. I mean, Black Widow has been around since Iron Man 2, and I can't tell you what her theme sounds like. Captain America has a theme. Thor has a theme. When those characters show up on screen, you're like, oh, Thor's coming, or Captain America's coming. Cool, this is an Iron Man moment. But when Black Widow shows up, you're like, what am I supposed to be hearing? So I thought that was cool that they had the task to create her a unique theme, but it feels like it's been there all along. So I do appreciate the background music of this movie. I thought it was excellent. And at this time, you ready? You ready to talk about spoilers, lady? All right. At this time, clocking us in, I'll make sure to put it in the description of the video. We're going to be talking about spoilers because we have to. It's fun. So if you've not seen this movie, by all means, we are not offended if you get up and leave. Don't forget to hit that like button, though, before you do. And check out Ødfel's Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. How is the lighting? Shut up. That was the only good thing that I liked about Catwoman. I was like, I guess the lighting was good. They tried that, so I gave it a 1 out of 10. It was a bad movie. The lighting was good in Catwoman. The lighting was awesome.
Lighting in this.
The lighting in this was excellent, actually. I really liked it, especially the end scene. All right, spoiler talk. Spoilers. All right, you're now entering the spoilers part of the review. Damn, there were a lot of things in this that were a lot of fun, and Florence Pugh by far steals the show. I've always had a thing for her. Like, she's amazing. But I really, really thought that Rachel Weisz was going to be the one that I was like, oh, she's going to be great. And she was, as Melina. But Yelena was just so awesome. I loved her, her cute little background. So at the beginning, they tell you this whole little story of how Natasha and Yelena are related. You think they're sisters, and Alexi's their dad, played by David Harbour. And you have Melina, played by Rachel Weisz. They're a family living in Ohio. I know, because my daughter screamed out Ohio. For some reason, that's like her favorite state. I don't get it.
I did too, but...
she's like, Ohio. And I was like, shh, we're in the theater. We're not at home anymore. So we turns out that they're not Americans. They don't live in Ohio. They turn out to be Russian spies, and they're not even a family. They're not related at all. It's all make-believe. It's all, part of this program that's all ran by this guy named Dreykov, who's played by the phenomenal Ray Winston. Always kills it in whatever he does. That dude's so awesome. And yeah. However, one of the operatives, one of the Black Widows, is able to break free of their spell. And one of the characters we haven't talked about is Taskmaster.
I've been careful not to, because I'm going to mess
I was too in the non-spoiler part, because I don't want to spoil what Taskmaster really is, and how we're in the spoiler part, how she is related to all of this. So when Black Widow, before joining S.H.I.E.L.D., long before joining the Avengers, she set out to kill this guy named Dreykov. And part of that was also not accidentally. She purposely said, she gave the kill to kill him, and knowing his daughter was in the same room as he was, and they blew up together. Turns out that both Dreykov and his daughter lived, and his daughter is now Taskmaster. I'm not sure how I feel about that. And I'll explain why. I don't care if it's a woman. I don't care if they're rewriting her character, as Taskmaster. I was okay with that. I think my problem is that I really wanted a badass, bad villain, right? I get tired of people, you've had these complex characters like Thanos, Loki. They're not really bad because they have good things about them that you understand and can relate to. I just wanted somebody badass like, what she reminded me of? Have you read JLA's by Grant Morrison? JLA by Grant Morrison?
Yeah.
Prometheus, the character that he created, the guy that puts a CD in his, that's what she reminded me of. I'm like, oh my God, this is what I was needing. A complete badass with no emotions, cut off from everything. And then it turns out that no, she's just being manipulated by her father. But man, those fighting sequences were so good.
Yeah, the fighting sequences with Taskmaster are the reason I was suggesting it in theaters the most, because the sounds when the shield sinks into something or like the punches are just so much better with that bass. But I'm really kind of bummed out too, because I think Taskmaster was really cool and it would be nice to have like a physically strong female villain, because a lot of the ones we've had so far have been like cunning female villains.
And when we had Ghost, it was just
But
crazy. And
yeah, but with how it ended, I really don't see why Taskmaster Antonia would continue to be evil.
right, the way that
Like,
they were
I
like,
was happy they
oh, I
didn't
remember
kill her.
everything. Mhm.
Yeah, like I was happy they didn't kill her, because Marvel has a really bad habit of that. But at the same time, I was like, are they even going to use her again though? Because like, I don't
Right.
know after this what would motivate her to continue being a villain.
Dude, like when she showed up all quiet, sometimes I'm good with one-dimensional characters. I'm good with having a badass just show up, knock out the good guy for no reason. That's what I need in my movies sometimes. I don't need an over convoluted explanation as to why she's bad. And sometimes, you know what? People are just evil for the sake of being evil. Hold on, we have a couple super chats. The movie was worth the wait. Red Guardian and the main villain represented toxic masculinity and control of women versus taking control of your own path. Wow, DBC All-Star, way to break it down, my brother. Red Guardian just needed to adapt to modern times. I love him as Red Guardian, though. He
was so good.
And it's interesting where his character ended up at the end of season 3 of, I know we're not spoiling, what's it called? Stranger Things, but it's interesting where his character, the actor's character, ended up at the end of season 3 of Stranger Things. And now, he's a Russian spy. Okay. But he had some really funny lines, so go ahead.
Yeah. No, speaking of it, I'm really curious. So the first time through watching it, I was like, he brings up Captain America a lot, but it's like a rivalry. And then the second time watching it, I really was like, no, I don't think he's messing around. Like, I think he means it. And now I'm really curious, like, who was he fighting? Because the first time I thought he was just kind of posturing with the other person.
Like when he's arm wrestling the other prisoner, and he's like, I fought Captain America.
He's posturing. He's just kind of like being a dude. But then he brings it up a couple more times. And on the second watch, I was like, did he fight a Captain America? Is this like the start of where we start seeing things not quite line up? Like, it might have been a Cap, but not Steve. Like, what is happening? Because it's weird that he even asked Natasha. Mm-hmm. If he had mentioned him, like, I feel like he wouldn't embarrass himself that way if he had never met Captain America,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm very intrigued with that because I feel like they wouldn't have put it in so many times if it was just him being braggy.
I didn't even think about that. Now you've seen it twice. You saw it like world premiere. So you had the curtains. You had those curtains of like, oh, I'm in Hollywood. This is so cool. But the second time you saw it with some friends last night. Mm-hmm. So was it a better experience watching it the second time around?
It was weird. Both times I saw it, it was a relatively quiet theater. I think I'm very spoiled from being at Endgame on opening night. Because there was a couple times like at both the premiere and this that me and my friends would be like, yeah, silence. Like, oh, because I'm just so used to like crowds kind of being more interactive. But both were fun in different ways. It was just nice getting to go to the theaters again. Cause I think like you, the last time I was at a normal movie theater was New Mutants. So it was kind of just nice to be at a theater with friends again.
It was. I completely agree with that. I like Ted. This is from Ryan. Thank you so much for the super chat, brother. I like Taskmaster character because it's a Taskmaster program and they can reuse the character and make Taskmaster different people. Man, that's a good point. But I kind of liked this Taskmaster. I thought showing up, fighting, no talking, that was awesome. I'm trying to think of some of the Easter eggs that I found. Obviously, Crimson Dynamo's name thrown in there. That was a nice little touch. But it was adorable. My daughters caught the second end. So let's talk about the movie. Okay, so this takes place in an interesting time. This takes place during Civil War because we hear about the death of the King of Wakanda, and how some of the Avengers have turned against the government and going into hiding. So Natasha, during this time, which is a crazy time, manages to find time to go and help her sister who's being hunted down by she thought she was being hunted down by the Taskmaster, but they're just after that red mist that's able to cure the rest of the Black Widow operatives. So during Civil War and after Civil War is when this takes place. Because at the end, it's revealed that you see Natasha with the blonde hair, and what is his name? The guy that's helping her.
I've watched it twice, and I still can't remember his name.
He wasn't. There was a character like that in the comics. I just cannot remember.
Yeah.
I think he was the agent. Oh, Rick. That's his name. So Rick.
But it ties up really nicely to Infinity War there at the end, because you're like, okay, I can see where this would click back in. And I really appreciated just how clean. You're like, okay, I can clearly see like where this would fall.
So it takes place during Civil War and then after Civil War, where she's about to break out the rest of the Avengers. And then we get one more post-credit scene, which is a really sweet scene, and it was adorable. Both of my daughters were like, she got a dog! Because Yelena was talking about wanting to live a normal life and having a dog. And then my other daughter caught the fact that the dog's name was Fanny. And that was the pseudonym that Rick gave her in one of the fake IDs, Fanny Longbottom. So
the thing I noticed on the second watch through too is that she's buried under a pink cherry blossom tree, which when she's asking, I can't think of the main bad guy's name. It's escaping me right now. Dreykov? Mm-hmm. Yeah, when she asked Dreykov where her mom was buried, he's like under a tree with pink flowers, unknown, like when he's taunting her. But then like later when we see her grave, it's also under a tree with pink flowers. And I was like, stop.
Oh, man. And I knew this stupid thing would, like, whenever they're kids at the very beginning in 1995, by the way, that My Little Pony doll, Twilight Sparkle, did not exist in 1995.
I know.
Both my daughter and I were like, wait. We were like, wait a minute. What are we doing here? Come on now. Where's the guy that's like, you spend so much money making sure everything looks like 1995, and then one guy is like, yeah, we need a My Little Pony doll. I got you.
My Little Ponies looked so much more nightmare fuel than that in the 2000s or in the 90s. Like,
so my daughter caught that, and I was like, good job. I caught that mistake too. In the comics, Rick Mason, the agent, is the Tinker's son. Thank you. I knew he was in the comics, and he is known as the agent. Are you going to talk about how Black Widow setting up the Winter Guard in a way, since they mentioned Crimson Dynamo, and there was Ursa Major with the Red Guardian in prison. He didn't turn into a bear though, which would have been cool.
I think he just had a tattoo.
And there was no Omega Red, because that was the big rumor that Omega Red was going to be in this movie, setting up the mutants. So no Omega Red again.
I think it's still too early to start, seeing mutant stuff. I feel like maybe near the end of this phase, but we're still at the beginning of phase 4. Mm-hmm. But I could see them having a Russian team in a later project go against Omega Red to introduce kind of a mutant idea. I just think it's way too soon.
And I mean, even though we've had Hugh Jackman posting pictures with Kevin Feige, I don't know what that means. I think, they're giving mutants a rest. But, here's the thing. My brother was saying the same thing, too. Like, well, we've had enough mutant movies. And I'm like, yeah, dude. But I ain't getting younger. I don't want to see mutants in 10 years, in the theater. I want to see mutants like here in a couple of years. They can take a couple of years. Don't be taking 10 years to show me the new Wolverine or anything like that. Come on now.
Yeah, I hope they give it space, but I do hope it's soon, or they drop something mutant related to quench my thirst in the meantime. Like, I've been hoping for a cartoon. There's been rumors, and I'm just waiting. Mm-hmm. But I think like by the end of this year's shows, I think we'll kind of get the tone of where it's going and how soon it'll be, because Miss Marvel's going to have to reintroduce Inhumans if they try to touch on that, because it didn't go well the first time. So
no, it didn't. And rightly so, because that was a pretty terrible miniseries.
I watched the first episode and had to tap out. I only meant I did not.
You lasted longer than I did. I watched like half the first episode, and I was like, man, this CG is bad. They don't care.
Well, they shaved her head, and I instantly was like, what is the point of watching this?
The movie feels like a wasted of a great potential. I wish we had seen Natasha's life in the Red Room instead of the fast slideshow. Besides, at least we should have seen how Natasha escaped from the Red Room. Honestly, I was okay with that part. I was okay with leaving that out, just because, I mean, you know, we're smart enough. We can put two and two together. All I need to know is that she escaped. I don't really need to know how. I was good with that explanation, and because we know where she is, that's the thing. But it was more, to me, it felt more like setting up the character of Yelena, which focuses on. So, but he didn't turn into a bear, Luis. But yeah, you're right. They did call him a bear. You're absolutely right.
No, I think where they said it was smart. Also, just because Scarlett Johansson is 10 years older than when she was in, you know,
Avengers and
Iron Man 2. And I feel like they'd probably de-age her the whole film, and that's just not.
They did a little de-age. I don't know if it was de-aging or maybe it was a wig. Whenever they did the flashback scene of her calling the kill for Draco, like she looked younger in the car.
Yeah, doing the whole movie I think would just kind of be a disservice to Scarlett Johansson. Because she honestly deserved this movie earlier. So I think where they said it was good because she could just act her heart out and do all these awesome fight scenes and really kind of send off Black Widow in a good way.
Yeah, and I think this is a good send-off for her. It still feels weird, right, that everybody got to come back and she didn't. But I don't know, it just feels like a good send-off. Like the part where Yelena's at the grave, and we'll talk about that. You know, where she's at the grave with the dog and she kisses, and I knew this was gonna happen with the stupid whistle, even at the beginning of the movie when I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna use this when when she's dead or something. It's gonna come back, and it still made me a little misty-eyed. Just because
I was hoping to hear it, even though I knew I wasn't gonna get it. I was like, whistle back.
Right. And the whole you're upside down. I thought that was a really cute little moment. There were a lot of good Budapest, not pronounced Budapest. I thought that was cute. But the big after credit thing that happens, and I kind of knew it was gonna happen, was Valentina showing up at the end of Black Widow, and she's talking to Yelena, and she's giving Yelena a new target. So the new target is Clint Barton, Hawkeye, which of course might mean that we see fine-ass Florence Pugh show up in Hawkeye, the TV show, which could be the premise of Hawkeye. I don't know, but I'm in. I love that these movies have roll into each other. TV shows, movies. I was talking to Amanda about this last year, about how there hasn't been anything like this, right? Like, as far as movies, we had James Bond. When I was a kid, we had Bond. It's like James Bond will show back up again in Her Majesty's Secret Service or whatever it was. But that was it. There was no movie that's like Iron Man will return in Avengers, and this is the first of its thing. Like, I've never seen anything like this. It's crazy how it's so connected, and I love it. So, and they know that people will go watch these things. That's the thing.
Oh yeah,
they know people are going to watch these and follow the story. It's like it's following one long story since Iron Man 1, and it's like the comics. They finally were able to tap into something that the comics got right.
I'm very excited. I really, really, really want to see Yelena versus Kate Barton now.
Oh my god.
And I'm not sure if this is all going to gear up towards more of a Young Avengers or if it's going to gear up towards a Thunderbolts. I don't know which will happen first.
That's hilarious. That's exactly what Amanda and we were trying to cast our Thunderbolts and our Dark Avengers, right? Because it feels like Valentina can go either way. We have U.S. Agent. What is she doing? But what does that mean about like Yelena going to be the new Black Widow, or is she already Black Widow?
Well, like it's one of those things where with Yelena working with Valentina, like it could either go Thunderbolts or I could see Kate Bishop talking Yelena into leaving and them kind of founding Young Avengers with a lot of these other young characters like Patriot and Stature we're going to be getting, and America Chavez. So I'm like, which way is it going? Which are we getting first? Because they're dropping seeds for both right now, and I'm very on my toes about it. But I could absolutely see a Dark Avengers too, with how they're kind of, having the shadow versions of these characters in each of the properties now.
Yeah, I love that. You never know where they're going to go, or it could just be an amalgam of both Dark Avengers and the Thunderbolts. So what was your favorite thing about this movie? Let's go ahead and go back to the movie. Favorite thing about the movie, whether it was an actor, whether it was a scene, whether it was special effects, whatever it was. What was the thing you enjoyed the most about the movie?
I think honestly, the action scenes. I think this is one of the first kind of female leading and female majority casted movie where the hits have felt so heavy in the action scenes. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of times I feel like female superhero films, there's action, but it's not as heavy. Like in this film, when the characters go at each other, you're like, holy cow, like her slamming her head on the table, all the scenes with Taskmaster, like this film felt strong. And I think to me, that was probably like one of the things I really appreciated about it is they didn't hold anything back with it.
I think for me, the thing that I enjoyed the most was the introduction of a character like Yelena. Like, I think it was cool. Introduce her this late into the game and still feel like she was a part of Black Widow's past all along. They did a really good job with that.
Now, here's a question. Do you think she was blipped?
Damn. I was thinking about that when she went to kiss her sister goodbye. That would explain why she's aged so gracefully.
I'm also thinking, like, after watching that, it's really hard for me to believe that Black Widow would be so okay being the one to sacrifice herself for the Soul Stone.
Mm-hmm.
But if, like, maybe her family, specifically Yelena more than Alexei and Melina, were dusted, I could see her being much more motivated to be like, no, we have to win. Because then there's friends, then there's family, where I feel like if she's there the whole time, there would have been a little more hesitation.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to say for sure with the context we're given.
So let me see. Going back to what I said about connecting universes, the closest thing would be the horror shit like Friday the 13th IG. I was thinking of, didn't they try to do the Black universe, the Dark universe, kicking it off with Tom Cruise's The Mummy? Didn't pay off because they introduced Mr. Hyde, right, in that movie? I don't know. It was so bad.
Yeah, because I think they wanted to do like Wolfman, Dorian Gray, like Creature of the Black Lagoon. Like they wanted to do like a whole.
It just didn't work out. They should have just left the Mummy movies alone with my boy Brandon Fraser and Rachel Weisz. Oh my gosh, love those movies. This is why I love Doctor Who. One character for over 60 years and started around the same time as Fantastic Four Avengers. That's right. Doctor Who premiered during the right around the time of the Kennedy assassination. So 1963. Yeah. Yep. Big fan of Doctor Who too. Even though I will admit I haven't seen the last season. I'm sorry. I think Dark Avengers or Thunderbolts would be more likely due to Yelena being at least 28 in the film, possibly older if she did not get blipped. So the blip is the big question. Great Simon saying hi to Ødfel.
Hello.
I thought after credit to be Valentina recruiting Taskmaster. I thought the same thing too. I really wanted to see Taskmaster being recruited. But no, we get we get the fact that Valentina and new Black Widow or Yelena have been working together for a while. Valentina's trying to put together a new Seinfeld reboot. Florence Pugh is Elaine. John Walker's Kramer. Stop it,
So cursed.
I appreciate the nuts, the realism, like Natasha needing ibuprofen, though it's kind of undermined when a car gets blown up, flips 5 times down the subway, and they brush it off. I thought about that, or I thought about like the whole thunder. That was okay. So the scene I was talking about, and I know in the non-spoiler part that we got to see her be Black Widow again. Is that whole bait and switch? That's what got me. I didn't see that coming. When her and Melina change places, she goes undercover, and then she I kind of got what she was trying to do when she kept trying to get Dreykov to hit her, but I did not see her like switching that up. I thought that was done so well, and it reminded me of that whole Loki scene in Avengers where she was messing with Loki. Nose. Yeah, and she just goes. Oh, what a badass! That was awesome, man.
That whole awesome. Was amazing. It actually felt like Black Widow again for the first time in a long time. I agree.
Oh, excellent question. Why do you think Doctor Strange didn't bring Red Guardian, Melina, and Yelena to the final battle in Endgame? They were hanging out with the Eternals. That's why.
Or I mean, if they're spies and she came back and never mentioned them, I mean, it's it would be like before, like why weren't they called into like the Battle of New York or Civil War,
Yeah, some things, I mean, you got to take with a grain of salt. It's whenever you're retconning and adding characters like that. Gabriel, I hope your leg is feeling better, buddy. All right, here's a honest opinion. Taskmaster sucked in this movie. They worked for Black Widow's story, but ultimately ruined the character. I feel what you're saying. I wanted a badass with no emotions, but instead I got somebody that got brainwashed and was a badass, and now is good again. I can see that. I do want to see the character return. I love a character that can steal people's moves. I mean, a lot different than the character is in the comic books, but still a bit of a badass himself or herself.
Yeah, I really hope we get to see Taskmaster just let loose in something else.
I think we'll see. I don't think we've seen the last of the Taskmaster. What was your least favorite part about the movie? We talked about our favorite parts. What are your least favorite part?
I have to think because there's a couple like kind of weird things.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really in for. I don't know. I feel like the widows are kind of this like entity that we're supposed to be like hoping to save, but we never really get to know any of them except Yelena. And I kind of wish we would have got more time with any of them. So that way, that scene at the end when they come out of the helicopter, it felt more like we won something. But I feel like they were so minimally in the movie. But also, if I sit and think about it, there's really no place to interject them in the movie either. It just, they kind of felt disconnected in a strange way. But also they kind of had to be. But that was like one of my few gripes I had, was it was just kind of like, it didn't quite feel like a win since we never got to really know any of them.
Yeah, I see that, because you're right. It's not. It's like, hey, we need to go. The whole mission is to go and free the rest of these girls that were kidnapped against their will, and it feels like, what's the point? And I don't mean to be heartless, but in a movie and things like that, if one of them dies, I don't care, whatever. I didn't get to know any of them. Or honestly, at the end battle in the Red Room. So the Red Room, by the way, in the movie turns out to be like up like the helicarrier. It's up in the clouds. Pretty cool, I thought. That was a pretty unique way of making it a twist. But what I was saying is that, I wouldn't have cared if all of them died in the crash of the Red Room. I didn't get to know any of them. What was the point of saving anyone? I get it. But you're right. I think I thought there for a minute we were going to get to know the one that was with the Yelena at the very beginning, that chased her and Natasha and then ends up dying.
But yeah, I just wish we got like a little more with any of them. But otherwise, I mean, that's such a minuscule gripe. I feel like overall, I feel like they did pretty well. There was some clunky dialogue here and there, but
Yeah, I feel like that too. But that's okay. That's kind of to be expected with an MCU movie by this point. I'm trying to think of the thing that I did not like the most. I think the Taskmaster was one of my big disappointments. Not a deal breaker though. I get it. I know why they used it in this movie. There was a lot of slow scenes in this movie. It didn't feel like it moved. The pacing was a little bit slow, especially towards the beginning. And for something that, and it's not their fault at all because they didn't think anything was going to, they didn't think the world was going to shut down and this is going to be the first MCU movie people go and watch once the world opens up. But it did feel like it was a little bit slow towards the beginning of the movie. And then it kind of got a little, the pace picked up a little bit. So, I think between that and I wanted to see more Melina and Red Guardian, I'll be honest.
yeah.
I don't think I got enough of them.
They spent a lot of time on exposition because you get the exposition of like young Tasha, then the exposition of, okay, what does the fallout of Civil War look like? Then the plot hits, and then by then you don't get much time for the middle chunk before you have to hit the end of the film, I feel like.
Yeah. So while it was a little bit of a slow burn, I think the payoff was pretty fun. It was good. I think it was a good movie to put into the specific timeline. I think it adds a whole new element. You have Yelena, and not only Yelena, but you also have all the Black Widows. You have Melina, and you have the Red Guardian, and maybe even Crimson Dynamo and Ursa Major. So, yeah, what would you rate this movie out of 10? Then we'll talk a little bit about like what your favorite Marvel movies are.
I feel like I'd give it a 7.
Okay.
I feel like it was solid. It was a good wrap up for the character. Not ranking it necessarily against other Marvel films, but just as a movie, because I feel like the team up always have a little more sway. But overall, like I think it's above average. I wouldn't say it's perfect. So like a 7-ish.
7-ish, fair enough. Honestly, I was 6.57, and probably 6.5 is where I'm gonna go. It was, I think it was better than some of the other movies, honestly, and I wasn't expecting it to be this good. I had a lot of fun with it. So yeah, if you've seen this movie, let us know in the chat what you would give it out of 10, and if you're seeing this later, what you would give it out of 10 in the comments section. This is also directed by Kate Shortland, right? Like a lady. So she's directed Lore. So yeah, I thought that.
ScarJo.
What's that?
And I believe produced by Scarlett Johansson. I think she was the producer on it.
Oh, really?
I think so, if I remember right, because I was looking at the credits and I was like, oh, and I think she was listed as producer.
Well, good for her. I mean, she knew it was a Marvel movie, so she knew it was going to do well. So Marcella's giving it a 7 out of 10 and an 8 out of 10 from Greg. Punda did not like, 5 out of 10 is still better than Catwoman. I gave my Catwoman a 1 out of 10. It was bad. I love Yelena and the Red Guardian. I'm so confused as to why they don't have the one super soldier in prison under extreme security.
It's Russia. I guess they don't care.
It's Russia. 7.5 for my buddy James Abel. Michael Edmond, I assume you haven't seen it yet, buddy. That's why you're like, what? 7 out of 7? No, 7 out of 10, my dude. 7 out of 10. There was another good question. Why was everyone okay with Red Guardian coming straight from prison to throwing on an unwashed leather suit? Clearly BO. It's not an issue for Black Widow. Sure, prisons are low tech. That is true. Catwoman's a negative 1,000 out of 10. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Honestly, a high 8. So Colin liked it. That's good. 8.3 out of 10. If action sequences and fight scenes were more, could be as good as Cap. It could. Honestly, it's shot to be that type of movie. Even so much so that it borrowed some cinematography from it, and there's nothing wrong with that, as well as some of the like the font that they would use for the cities whenever they, the big fonts that they were using, like in Captain America Civil or Winter Soldier. Thought that was cool. 6.5 to 7. Fair enough. 7.8. That's pretty precise. 8. Absolutely loved it. I'm so glad. Hey, I'm glad because it very easily could have been one of those forgettable MCU movies that's just there to get people to go and watch, to make a quick buck. Is it better than Avengers Infinity War? No. Well, in my opinion, no.
I mean, if you didn't like Infinity War, maybe, but
that is true. If
Infinity War was your jam, then probably not.
Right. 8.0 because of all the fierce female action sequences, which there were. Oh my goodness. The fights with the Taskmaster, the fights between Yelena and Black Widow, or Natasha, solid.
Like, you feel those punches, you're like, oh.
You're right, because of the sound effects. I liked it. I thought the director's cut of Salt was better. The movie deserves at least an 8.5 out of 10. Look at DBZ All-Star. That's awesome. I loved Infinity War. So yeah, what about you, Ødfel? What's your favorite Marvel movie, MCU movie? What's the one that you're like, this is a 10 out of 10, doesn't get better than this?
I have really unpopular opinions because I like niche mystic Marvel.
Yeah, you mentioned Mystic earlier.
WandaVision's my absolute favorite thing they've ever done. 10 out of 10, perfect series. But movie-wise, my favorite is probably either Doctor Strange or Thor Dark World, and people hate me for that.
Hold on. She's off the show. I'm sorry. I can't take anybody seriously that likes Thor Dark World. What? Are you serious, dude?
I do. I really like it. But my favorite Avengers is Ultron.
With Doctor Who, with Christopher Eccleston, Thor Dark World. There goes all your credibility.
It's a great Loki film. Like, the Dark Elf plot, awful, but I love the Loki Thor moments and the whole dynamic between Odin and Frigga and all of that. And I can look past the Dark Elf stuff long enough to enjoy the movie.
This is interesting. Wow.
I like fantasy stuff, so for me and Marvel, it wins me brownie points. So.
Okay, I do too, but Thor Dark World. What was the other one that you said? Thor Dark World.
Doctor Strange is probably my favorite. And then Ultron is my favorite team-up movie.
Holy crap! Okay, I will say this. I think Age of Ultron is probably not me. I'm just saying. I think it is rated the worst Avengers movie.
Is that really?
Dark World is rated the worst Thor movie. Doctor Strange is somewhere in the middle. I will say that Thor Dark World is one of my least favorite MCU movies. Now, Avengers Age of Ultron, I actually dug it. I know people give it a lot of crap, but I really liked it.
I'm also biased for characters I like.
Ultron was
carry me through a film.
Ultron was such a unique character. I really liked him. He wasn't a one-dimensional. He could have easily been a Borg type of character, right?
Yeah.
But I just remember the scene where he's talking to Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, and he's like, "Guys," he's just acting like a normal. He was James Spader. James Spader, and that's why I liked it.
And I love Wanda and Quicksilver. I love Vision. Vision's one of my favorite Marvel characters, so I'm biased. Just like I was biased with Dark World because Loki shines in that movie really well. And then, Doctor Strange, I just love Doctor Strange, so I'm excited to see the second one.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. What's your least favorites? If you had to say 2 least favorite MCU movies, what would they be?
I'm getting put on blast. Wow.
No, it's out of my own curiosity. What would they be?
I feel like I'm gonna get heat for this. Civil War and Iron Man 2.
Okay, Iron Man 2. Woo! That was the saving grace of your answer, but Civil War.
I don't know why. I've watched Civil War once, and every time I try and do a Marvel watch through, I skip it. And I need to give it another chance so I can actually be like, okay, I like or dislike it. But I just didn't like it in theaters so much the first time that I just haven't gone back to watch it.
So you watched it in theaters when it originally came out, and
that's the only time I've seen it.
Oh man.
I
Okay.
need to give it another chance, honestly, because I feel like with the scope of things now, I'd probably appreciate it a lot more. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it the first time, and I just kind of, I don't know.
This guy, I gotta point this guy out. This is my buddy Nman40. Great viewer of the channel. Love this guy. He corrects me on a lot of things. And he's asking. He's a big fan of Met My Ex, by the way. He asks me every week when's it coming back. And I promise, we've been talking about it, right? We have been.
We have been talking about it.
Yeah, it's just a matter of getting everybody's schedule together because it's the summertime. Peter lives in a whole another continent. On top of that, he's like 20 something hours away from us. But that's it. We're gonna do it. We love doing it, so of course we're gonna bring it back. I think initially we had it for next week, but then conflict. So maybe sometime in late July, maybe like the last week in July. Promise we'll come back with X Factor. I promise it will not be before I announce X Factor Omnibus Volume 1, my dude. Omar, Civil War, boot her. Okay, done. Again, guys, you guys are making me boot her. Like, she I've never met anybody that likes Thor Dark World. Like,
I have controversial MCU taste. I will admit it. I disagree with almost everyone, and I'm okay with that.
But here's the thing, though. Like, I respect somebody like that. I mean, you're still crazy, but I do have to respect your opinions. Like, you stand your ground, and you're like, yeah, this is what I like. So what? See, I think, like, Thor gets a lot of hate, the first Thor. But to me, Thor felt like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe with a budget. I loved it. I loved Thor. Thor Dark World, honestly, I think the only thing that I remember I liked about that movie was the non-traditional fight scene with the villain where Thor has to take a train.
Yeah.
Very tongue in cheek. Yeah. I think that was about it.
I think I appreciated it a lot more after seeing how the Infinity Saga wrapped, because it was kind of mid-tier for me. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. And then I went back and watched it. And after seeing Loki and Ragnarok, and after like seeing all of how Infinity War and Endgame end, it kind of just elevated it for me. And I'm like, there's things I don't like about it, but it really just feels more important after rewatching it. So it kind of boosted it. But I still think like overall, like WandaVision, Doctor Strange, than, you know, the other ones. But
okay, I got you. I love Iron Man 2.
What are your favorites?
What are my favorites? My favorites. Avengers is still my favorite. Like, the first Avengers was so good. So good.
And it's just a classic too. It's before things got nuts.
They can't, like, don't get me wrong, I think Infinity War is an amazing movie. It's probably up there in my top 5. But you cannot duplicate the experience of Avengers, right? The oh my God, this movie is leading into this movie, and all these movies are leading into this movie. There's never going to be another thing like that.
There's really a magic about it too, because it really, like, even just rewatching it, I still get kind of like the child excitement of like, oh my God, these are going to connect into something. It's just, it was so new for a franchise to do something like that I think it'll always just kind of be like a little bit magical to watch.
And it worked. Not only did they try to do it, it worked. It set the bar for what continuity should be in movies. Mm-hmm. I mean, DC tried to do the same thing, and then they finally realized, oh, we need to do our own thing. We're too late into the game. So I think this is probably my favorite quote of tonight. Every time I think about Ant-Man and Wasp, I start to shapeshift into Martin Scorsese. Okay, see, like, Ant-Man and Wasp is, I also, like, I'm not a fan of that one. Ant-Man wasn't, like, you know, there are movies, which is where, honestly, I thought I was going to put this movie, that are kind of like middle of the road for me. Like Ant-Man, like Captain Marvel. And some people really hate Captain Marvel, but some people really love it. I'm just like, it's there. It's a Marvel movie. I felt like that about Ant-Man. And I thought that's where Black Widow was going to be. But no, I think Black Widow was a little bit about that, above that. Ant-Man and Wasp, to me, just, I don't. That is the type of movie that I think, and this is just my personal opinion, that I think Marvel is better than making. Marvel is at the point where we need to get creative with our movies. We need to make them stand out. And I was worried that we were going to get more Ant-Man and Wasp, which was it was a fun movie. It was hokey, but it was just there. There was nothing special about it. Nothing stood out about it.
Wasp was the best part of that movie, and she was not in it very much. Like I remember like sitting just kind of waiting to see more of her. Wasn't really attached to the Ghost storyline, and after Ant-Man 1, I was kind of just like, okay. Mm-hmm. Like it kind of let me down a little.
It was just there, and I didn't see a need for it. Now, like I said, I know there are people that like hate it. Amanda and I have discussed this in the show before. I think for me, my least favorites have always been Iron Man 3. Iron Man 2 is up there too. Thor 2 for sure. And Ant-Man and Wasp.
I get it.
Ant-Man and Wasp.
I think I'm one of the only people that likes Dark World, and I'm okay with that.
No, there was somebody in the chat that was like, I like Dark World. And then here's the thing that I've realized only after watching Spider-Man 3, we did a show called Was It Really That Bad? Where we went back and watched comic book movies and, talk about the bad ones that are rated the worst ones. Like, was it really as bad as people make it out to be? And one of them was Spider-Man 3 by Sam Raimi. And
I want to rewatch that. I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
Okay, well now you made me feel old. So the thing is, I didn't realize. Okay, when you watch a movie, I think you come out of it and you're like, man, that was one of the best movies ever. Everybody must agree with me, right? It's not until you go to the internet or you have a show like this and you're like, oh, I guess I was wrong. I was the only one that liked that movie. That sucks. And there are certain movies that I feel like walking out of the theater and I'm like, oh man, that was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Like the case of Spider-Man 3. I thought Thor Ragnarok, and this reminds me of Jose Fuentes, who's here in the chat. Thor Ragnarok is so bad, I pretend it doesn't exist. It wasn't until I rewatched Spider-Man 3 that made me appreciate this comment. Because when I watched Thor Ragnarok, I thought Thor Ragnarok was an amazing movie. I thought it was a movie that was beloved by everybody. And I forget that to a lot of people, Thor Ragnarok is the Spider-Man 3 of that franchise. Because you have Thor Dark World, they have the same kind of tone. It's kind of serious, little bit of hokiness. Whereas Thor 3 is balls out hokey.
Yeah.
And some people don't like that. And I had a problem with that with Spider-Man 3. But I didn't have a problem with that with Thor Ragnarok, because I think it had a lot of heart. I don't know. Where would you put Thor Ragnarok? Did you like that?
I did. To me, it didn't feel like a Thor movie. It felt like a Hulk movie, which it was. Mixed with a little bit of a Thor movie. So to me, I would probably put it third out of the 3 Thor movies, but I still really liked it. Like the Thor trilogy in general is my favorite trilogy in Marvel, because again, I'm biased towards the fantasy stuff. But like for me, it would be 3 out of 3, because I think 2 and then 1 and then 3 for myself. But I rewatch the Thor movies a lot, and Ragnarok's just a fun one to rewatch because it's not, you don't have to pay attention all the time. You can like do something and then and then kind of go back to doing whatever. So I don't know. I still liked it. I love Jeff Goldblum, so that's always a plus. But
he was awesome in that movie. He was, and honestly, he fits the tone of that movie.
Oh yeah.
Hold on, there was a pretty good comments here. Where's the one I was seeing earlier? Okay, almost every Marvel movie is nowhere near how good it could and should have been. I don't know. I think somebody said Avengers was like. There it is. The first Avengers is a solid movie if you like movies like The Rocketeer. I actually rewatched that last year, and I thought the same thing. And it's the same director as The Rocketeer. Solid
I still
movie.
Want to see that. Like that's on my list of movies I want to go through and watch, because I've never seen it, but the aesthetic of it is everything I love. So I want to make a point to watch it at some point.
Wait a minute. Rocketeer or First Avenger?
Rocketeer.
Okay. You're fine then.
I've seen First Avenger, I promise.
Her favorite Marvel movie is Thor 2. Yes, once again, she stands by it.
Doctor Strange is my favorite.
Strange, I'm sorry.
Thor 2's up there, but I promise.
My favorite trilogy has to be Captain America. Captain America has an excellent trilogy. I'll tell you what, though, out of all the characters in the MCU, and just speaking of the MCU, I think the one with the most character growth has to be Thor. Thor, like, for a character that I thought was going to be one-dimensional throughout all his movies, based on the way that he looks and, you know, what he represents, I was surprised to see him shine as much and have that much range. And remarkably, you know, charming and funny in Thor Ragnarok. He had a damn good character arc in Infinity War and in Endgame. He was so good.
I did not expect to like Thor as much as I did, but after kind of finishing everything and then rewatching it, I was like, yeah, I think the Thor trilogy is my one. Just watching him go through all of it is just such a good growth.
Yeah, you see him from Thor 1, right, all the way to Endgame. Holy crap. That is amazing. So I for one, I'm excited for the fourth Thor, Love and Thunder. Is that it? Love and Thunder?
Yeah, they've started releasing like shirts and stuff, and I'm very, very excited. Like, it's hard to make out the details, but it looks like Valkyrie might get a cool suit too.
Here's the thing. So for those people that are now chiming in, Ødfel got to fly out to the Black Widow premiere. I'm going to showcase some of her pictures. Keep in mind, she didn't get to fly out because she dressed up like Black Widow, but they just found her cosplay and knew that you would eventually make a good Black Widow. What the hell?
Like, she's a character I never really thought about because she just, I don't know. And now I'm sitting here like, man, maybe I should genuinely make Black Widow.
So you've never cosplayed as Black Widow. You went to the world premiere and you had to borrow your friend's costume. Did your friend say, take me with you?
Yeah, and I felt so bad because I already told my friend who was Red Guardian that he was my +1. And I was like, but she was real sweet about it, so I'm going to have to make it up to her at some point. I think I might cosplay Yelena with her, so.
No, dude, you're thinking wrong. You're thinking wrong. Here, I'm going to help you out, okay? You need to start thinking ahead, Ødfel. You need to start dressing up like Jane Foster. You need to start dressing up like Gamora. So your thing from now on would be to get flown out to all these world premieres.
I already have Wanda, Doctor Strange. I'm looking at you.
Right. Doctor Strange. So
that movie comes out on my birthday, so I'm low-key like staring at Disney like, please?
Oh man, you Michael. She's already Ødfel. Would you like to tell this story?
I'm on that.
She already got.
I'm trying to think of how many I did. I think 8 Jean Grey costumes. So honestly, you might have to dig a little bit because I haven't shot X-Men in a while. But I have done like 8 Jean Grey costumes. You'll be very happy.
Yeah, her costumes are awesome. Like, I'm the Uncanny Omar. She gets flown out because she dressed like Jean Grey. Well, 8 times is a lot, so that makes sense.
Including movie costumes, for better or worse.
I started losing my hair like Professor X. Stop it. Wonder if the beginning of Black Widow takes place before, during, after Captain Marvel, since Captain Marvel takes place in 1995. You know, I didn't even think about that. I haven't even think.
I'm interested in that now.
That's a good one. That's a good question.
Especially because we see S.H.I.E.L.D. and they stole something from S.H.I.E.L.D. that was already Hydra at that point.
That's right. Yeah, and she mentions that.
That's interesting. I wonder if we'll kind of get any closure on that in Marvels. Or if we'll just be like, eh.
So here's something we didn't talk about, but I did notice it. Ross was really sick in this movie. Did you notice? Nat said he had 3 bypass surgeries and his face was really white. Maybe he took some kind of serum and ended up as Red Hulk. He's healthy in Tony's funeral. I just thought it was William Hurt, the actor, may not be in the best of health. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's a good theory if it is intentional.
Yeah, if it's intentional, that's awesome. Because, I mean, Thunderbolt Ross is who Red Hulk, turns out to be. But in the comics, I don't know if they'll go that route. Omar, off topic, what kind of omnis have you found at Ollie's? Star Wars and Amanda found the Wizard, the Scotty Young Oz omnibus that we got for $7.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, best omnibus buy ever. Swear to God, if Gore makes jokes in Thor: Love and Thunder, I'm going to lose.
I hope Love and Thunder gets a little more serious. I will say that, like, as much as I like Ragnarok, Gore the God Butcher needs like this much not comedy.
Well, I was thinking of that, and I was thinking of Jojo Rabbit. Like, he was able to make a movie like Jojo Rabbit and still have that same kind of humor, and still made you cry. For anybody that's seen, have you seen Jojo Rabbit?
I haven't, but it's on my list because the trailers looks phenomenal.
If you've not seen Jojo Rabbit, or I'm sorry, if you've seen Jojo Rabbit, I'm just gonna throw this out there. If you didn't cry at the tying of the shoelaces scene, you have no heart. Because oh my God, that scene in that movie is beautiful. Just saying.
I think I'm gonna mess up her name. I want to say it's Jenna McCarthy. Was seen on set in a full Hela costume, so I feel like we're gonna get some comedy because I feel like that's gonna be like another one of those plays, like how Matt Damon was in it, in Ragnarok.
In Ragnarok, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like it's either Jessica or like Jenna McCarthy. So I feel like we're gonna get at least another one of those kind of spoofy plays, but I can't really tell how much comedy they're gonna give us.
I'm sure it's gonna be. I mean, there's so much. No, it's not Melissa McCarthy, right?
Melissa McCarthy.
What?
I'm so bad at names. Yeah.
Stop it. I thought you said Jenny McCarthy. Melissa McCarthy?
Yeah, I'm horrible at names. Hold on.
The lady in Bridesmaids? What? Stop
I'm going to see if I can find the picture, and then I'll link it in the little thingy.
Just give me a Mike Grell Arrow trilogy of movies and a Peter David Hulk trilogy, please. Rated R. Even the kids want rated R. I agree. I love Jojo Rabbit. I cry whenever someone ties their shoelaces, not just in that movie, anywhere. Thanks, Michael. I appreciate that. Dude, I laughed at the Crimson Dynamo reference. I was like, yes! My friend gave Jojo Rabbit a half a star out of 5 since she's only watched half of it. I mean, is that a fair rating? Oh my God, stop. That picture's not real.
No, it is real. There's a lot of set photos. So unless they're like messing up with
Melissa McCarthy, Hella.
Yeah, so we're at least getting that. I'm assuming it's another one of the Asgardian plays.
That is not what I want. That is not what I want. Oh man.
Yeah, and there's a couple set photos because I guess people were taking drone photos while they were filming. So there's like a handful of like rando shots that leaked.
Oh, sorry. Ødfel sent me a picture of Melissa McCarthy. And, I'm sure, a lot of people find her funny. That's awesome. Here, I'm going to share it in the chat. The web file, so I have to do a little tweaking, but let me see what I can do. Where did you find this?
I just searched Melissa McCarthy Hella and a bunch pop up.
Of course.
So, yeah, I can't tell what tone this movie is going to be, but I really want Valkyrie and Jane Foster to interact, so I'm excited.
Do you think they're going to bring... really? It's a wrong file. Okay.
I hope they bring Sif back.
Sif? I feel like Sif got the short end of the stick in this whole trilogy.
You haven't caught up to Loki, and it's not a huge thing, but they do mention her enough that I'm excited that she might be back.
When does Loki end?
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. How caught up are you?
I'm caught up.
Oh, you are? Okay. Well, you're always welcome back to review it with me if you want, Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah.
I'll catch up because I'm like what the hell? I'm like 2 episodes behind. Why is she Hella? This is so bad, dude. I mean, more power to the people that like Melissa McCarthy's humor. That's cool, I guess.
I've never really seen anything with her in it that I've necessarily liked, but I have faith in Taika, so
She was in a Bridesmaids. There you
yeah,
go. What? This is ridiculous.
I have no context, as do all of you, and I don't even know.
Oh, here's a good question from Greg. Ødfel, what other characters have you cosplayed?
A lot.
Hold on a second, really quick. Scotty G, one of my favorite people. Happy Friday, everyone's drinking. Need to grab a glass of tequila. No, you do not want to see me on tequila, dude. I'm actually not allowed to drink tequila. What are you drinking?
Always vibing.
Always vibing. It looks like a Grand Theft Auto drink.
Right? I literally bought it because the label was pretty. I've never seen this before, but it's pretty good.
Is it any good?
It's like a light beer, and I don't usually drink those, but it's summertime, so I'm like, okay.
No spoilers for what? Loki? Or we're not talking about Loki yet. Or
yeah, I'm not gonna say anything about Loki because he hasn't seen it yet. So.
Or are you talking about Ødfel's cosplay?
I can do like a quick list, but I'm gonna miss like 80 things because I've been cosplaying for 6 years.
Top 5 favorite cosplays you've ever done.
Sansa, because it was a lot of work and I patterned it myself.
Sansa Stark from Game of Thrones?
I did Sansa Stark. X Factor Jean Grey, because I'm really proud of how that suit looks. Captain Britain from the newest Excalibur series, because I love that costume design, so it was a blast to do. I'm just going to start picking weird ones. I did Tempest, specifically from the Bendis run, because her design is absolutely adorable. And I'm trying to think of another weird one I've done. I did Kyogre, the Pokemon. I made armor for it. So definitely check it out. I've done mostly Marvel. I've done a handful of DC and a handful of assorted other things. So
then that is Ødfel. She's on Instagram and Twitter. She's a phenomenal cosplayer. But the best cosplay, and I mean the best cosplay that she's ever done, is the one that she missed. And that is Jean Grey and Madeline Pryor in the same picture.
Yes, that is clutch. I have another one, and I need to get back to Pat because he needs headshots, and I've been neglecting that for a while. But we have a couple more Maddie and Jean things we shot at the same con that might be coming soon-ish. So that'll be fun because we shot a lot that day. I shot 7 looks with him at that con in one day. So we shot a lot of Jean. There's a lot of cool stuff coming.
All right. So do you mind if I show that picture? Because it is, for anybody that has read, what's that?
Or go for it. I love that picture.
Okay. So this picture, I got to get it from Instagram. So that means I have to save it as a PNG. So she cosplayed as Jean Grey and Madeline Pryor, 2 different occasions, right?
That was actually the same day. So Madeline I made first. I made X Factor Jean way later. But that photo was taken in the course of one day. I shot 7 looks with the same photographer, all Jean, in like 3 hours. So we literally did that back to back in the same room. I tried to lay with the same lighting, and it was chaos, but it was great.
Okay. So let me see how I can put this on there. Whose idea was it?
Mine. He and I were talking. He's a big Emma Frost person, and he's like, okay, I want to shoot a bunch of X-Men stuff with you. You're one of the only people who does Maddie. You're one of the only people with this X Factor thing. So I want to shoot those. The big thing he does is cover recreations. And he's like, is there any covers you really want to get? And that was the one I said, even though it's like an end panel, I guess, an end splash. That was the one I sent him, and I'm like, this is my dream one to recreate. And she really brought it to life.
This is the picture. If you've read Inferno, then you're very familiar with this particular picture from Inferno. And this by far, I remember when you showed me this, and I was like, "What? How did you do 2 characters at once?" Very nice.
Very trickily. And yeah, like this was the one I really wanted to do. This is like a goals recreation, and he really knocked it out of the park.
Man, that Goblin Queen, one of the best costumes.
We have a couple more Inferno covers hopefully coming, so I'm very
Yeah?
excited.
Dude, I love Inferno.
Same. I'm very excited.
Like the Taskmaster reveal? Indifferent. Makes sense for the movie.
Yeah, I felt it was a little telegraphed. But I felt like Taskmaster being a woman in general made the most sense based on how the plot was going.
Yeah. And honestly, I saw it coming. As soon as she mentioned her daughter, and I was thinking there's no way that in this movie, Black Widow is going to kill a little girl. Surely she lived. Yeah. She's probably messed up. And I was like, oh, wait, Taskmaster. That makes the most sense. So when the reveal happened, I kind of saw that one coming. Thank you so much for the super chat. Breakfast of Champions. Was it just me, or did they go out of the way not to have any Black Widow mains? Not kill many people in Iron Man 2. She was snapping necks all day. Exactly. Killing a little girl, completely not going to happen. So I felt the same way. There wasn't enough killing.
And she wasn't fighting not the widows at any time too, because since they were trying to save the widows, whenever those fight sequences happened, you could really tell there was pulled punches, which I think is well done on the fight choreographer's part, since they were, intentionally trying for that vibe. But I was a little like, give me some like no hold bar action.
Have you cosplayed Natalie Portman from Thor Dark World? Have you?
I'm just going to take a photo like sleeping on a stone bench, and really that's all you need.
Yo, dude, if you're not cosplaying Thor, Jane Foster Thor, come on now.
I either want to do that or Sif. Sif has been on my list forever, before that movie comes out, but I'm not going to imagine Jane's suit until they release it though. If I make MCU Jane Foster, I'm going to wait. But comic Jane Foster also slaps, so.
Dude, comic Jane Foster's awesome. That Russell Dauterman artwork.
Oh yeah, comic Jane Foster Valkyrie also has really cool armor in the newest run of Rise of the Valkyries.
By the way, I'm gonna highlight some comments about you. These guys feel exactly the same about me, so just replace your name with my name. Oh,
right.
Sorry about that one. This one here. Oh my God, Ødfel, you're beautiful. Just replace that with Omar. Same thing. They feel the same.
I'm reading all of these as Omar. I got you.
10 out of 10 gas, except for that one. That's a host 10 out of 10. Ødfel looks fantastic. Beautiful. That one's for me. You are gorgeous and very talented. Thank you. Thank you. You feel the same way about me. This is a good question, though. Do you buy your own suits or create them? Do you buy your suits somewhere, or do you make them?
A little bit of 50-50. A lot of times, if it's something that's more fabric-y, like Sansa, I patterned and made that myself. Armor, I make all my armor myself. I made all of Captain Britain myself. Spandex suits, a lot of times, I will just purchase, because spandex is very tricky to get right. And oftentimes, I will have a better time just commissioning it than trying to get all the line work straight. So some of the superhero suits aren't. I did make Kitty, though. So it's a little bit of everything. I usually have to alter all of the suits anyway because I'm weirdly tall, so at least as far as sizing for suits tend to be. So it's just a little bit of everything.
More, you're a beautiful soul. Thank you, because that goes a long way in life. Thanks, Atit. I appreciate it. If you had a dream cosplay group, what would it be and why?
I really want to do Phoenix 5, but the issue is I love all of the character designs, so I wouldn't be able to decide who I want to be. But I think assembling the Phoenix 5 would be phenomenal, because I've never seen it done.
Oh, dude, the Phoenix 5?
Yeah, like I want to assemble that, but I don't know if I want to be Magic or Emma, because they both slap.
That's awesome, dude. Yes.
But that's like, I think that would be amazing.
Who would you be? Magic?
See, I don't know. Like, I love Magic's design, but Emma looks great. But I'd probably do Magic just because I love Ileana.
You know what? Though? I'm gonna let you finish, Ødfel. But Omar had one of the best Nightwing costumes of all time. All time.
Mad
Thank
fact. I think it was your
Breakfast.
profile pic for a while. I've seen it. It slapped.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I worked really hard on that.
No, it looks really good. At least from the one photo I saw, but
the butt, that was on me, dude. I was doing squats like a madman. Ain't in there.
Gotta get that comic accuracy. Nightwing's always got it.
Right? Ødfel, how tall? How tall are you?
I'm 5'7", which isn't.
Nobody gets these questions for me.
Yeah. I'm 5'7", which isn't like crazy tall, but when you're buying spandex suits, like my size is usually for someone 5'2" or 5'3", so I usually have to get a size like a couple up and then custom it.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Ødfel, I know comics is your thing, but did you cosplay as Cruella?
I haven't done Cruella. I did watch the movie on the plane. I loved it. It just wasn't a Cruella movie. I would have liked it a lot more if Disney didn't kind of adopt it. But the costume in that movie was amazing. But I really haven't done any Disney costumes yet that I can think of. I'm trying to think if I've done Disney. I think Helga is the only one I've done, and that's from Atlantis, which is kind of like, it's Disney, but no one thinks it is. So, but that's as close to
Wait. Atlantis? Which one?
Yeah.
Which character?
Helga, the blonde.
In Atlantis?
Yes. That's the only Disney costume I've ever done. And even then, it's kind of like offbeat Disney.
That was a good Disney movie, though. Very underrated.
I know. I loved it.
Now we get into how tall are you? Finally, no, we've been doing this for years. Nobody asked me how tall I am.
You weren't getting these questions, and now you are, and you don't like it.
It was you that brother. I'm as tall as Ødfel. I'm only 5'7". But I'm tall for my people from Peru. Just saying. Omar started watching Watchmen a few days ago. It's good so far. Have you cosplayed any anime characters?
I've cosplayed a couple. I'm trying to think of all the ones I've done because I started out doing more anime. I've done Asuna from SAO. I did Cruel Tepesh from Seraph of the End, and then I have Sailor Mercury, but I haven't finished it yet. So,
why Sailor Mercury out of all the Sailor Scouts?
I like the Outer Senshi better, but I had a coupon for a brand deal to pick 5 costumes, and she's my favorite of the Inner Senshi. So I was like, you know what? I concede I'll do an Inner Senshi. So I picked her, but Pluto's my girl. So
hold on. Yeah, Pluto's a good answer. Uranus is my favorite. Hold on a second. Maybe Omar, you should cosplay as Robin. Let me tell you something about Burt Ward. Okay, Burt Ward had to tuck his thing in between his legs because it was so big. So in the show, this is funny because this happened during an interview with Oprah.
I love this.
It was revealed that Burt Ward had such a big dong that he had to tuck it between his legs during the shooting of Batman, the 66. So I bet, Greg, because of this comment, you never go back and watch Batman the same way. Because all you're going to be doing is looking for Burt Ward's dong the next time you're watching
Did dance belts not exist yet? Like, what?
You're welcome. It's 1960, like 65, 66 when they were filming this. So, yeah. I don't think they existed back then.
Probably not, now that I'm thinking about it, but that's cursed knowledge you've given me.
Yeah, well, that wasn't for you. That was for Greg. Ødfel, what's one of your favorite comic series? What are you reading currently?
So currently I've really been liking Captain Marvel. I've been reading Black Widow. I'm trying to keep up with X-Men, but they canceled X-Force, so I'm very salty because it was my favorite of all of the X suite.
They canceled which one?
X Factor. I think I said X-Force, but I meant X.
Oh, Leah Thompson's got canceled?
Yeah, she at least it's at least on hiatus, if not canceled, because she's going on to write Trials of Magneto. Super bummed because X Factor was my favorite. But yeah, I think it's on hiatus right now. But I would say my favorite book of like this whole past year has been Adventure Man. But I think it's still on hiatus.
I think it is too. This is a good question. What character not confirmed for the MCU would you love to see in a movie or TV show made of? The New Warriors, guys. This is the right answer. The New Warriors.
I actually would like to see. I almost said Starfire. Jesus, Firestar. I think she would be cool.
Part of the what? The New Warriors.
But I'm trying to think of like characters I think would be in the next couple phases that I'd want to see.
Like a single character? I mean, New Warriors, but of course I want to see Nova. But I don't want to see no Sam Alexander, and I get it, he's Latino, so that's probably the route they're going to go. I want my boy Richard Rider. That's what I want.
You know who I think would actually be interesting that I'd like to see now? And I'm trying to think of like Avengers, because I don't think we're going to get Fantastic Four or, X-Men yet, of characters we haven't heard about. Tigra. I'd be intrigued.
I like to see how they handle it.
Yeah,
they handle characters differently, right? They handle characters differently in the MCU.
I think she would be interesting.
I like the way they go with a lot of the characters, and then sometimes not so much. Mandarin.
I want to see Illyana in Doctor Strange too. I know it's not happening, but
dude, all I'm gonna say without spoiling anything, because we just spoiled Black Widow, but Ralph Bohner was such a letdown to me. I know you love WandaVision. I did too. But I feel like that was the one missed opportunity. And they did it to spite us.
I feel like it was the only way, but I was still very upset.
That hurt. And to call him Ralph Bohner, 12-year-old Omar loved that. But, I was ready. I'm like, ooh, multiverse. Oh, my God, this opens up so many things for the mutant. Nope.
I feel like he has to be the missing persons who's on Homeland Security or whatever the hell, because that's not a real name. That's almost as bad as Fanny Longbottom.
Good point. Good point. Phase 6, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Let's go. Firestar. Just saying. Beta Ray Bill's. Beta Ray Bill's a good answer. I like that. We kind of got a little hint of Beta Ray Bill in Thor Ragnarok. What are you laughing about?
I don't want to see his horse face in CGI. I really don't. I feel like it's going to be fleshy.
Wait, do you want to see somebody in a costume dressed up as Beta Ray Bill? Is that what you want to see?
I don't know. The idea of hyper-realistic Beta Ray Bill is terrifying to me, and I'm so scared of him being in the MCU because it's going to be like Alf, but worse.
Be like Elf?
Alf.
Can I not get away from these Alf references? How is it that I always get Alf references on this goddamn show? Hold on. Have you won? Dude, Greg, you know how much she won? They flew her out to go see the world premiere of Black Widow. She didn't even dress up as Black Widow. That's how much she's won. Have you won any cosplay contests?
I haven't entered any contests. I've judged costume contests, but I've never entered them. I should. I just get really hung up on my craftsmanship, and I'm like, no one can know how this was made. It's so sketchy and held together with prayers and tears. But I really should enter one sometime. I judge people on it, so.
Are you a fair judge?
I feel like it, yeah. I've done judging for skits and for craftsmanship, and both are fun. And since I make things, I understand, but.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, she mentioned Alf. She did. Oh, Ghost Rider would be cool in the MCU. We've seen Ghost Rider in, was it S.H.I.E.L.D.? I stopped watching S.H.I.E.L.D. long before Ghost Rider showed up. But was Ghost Rider was in S.H.I.E.L.D., right?
Yeah, it was
Robbie Reyes, Ghost Rider.
Yeah, Robbie Reyes, I believe. Yeah.
We need an MCU Howard the Duck movie or Disney Plus series. Well, I think the next big series after Loki is What If, right?
Mm-hmm. And then I think Miss Marvel is next.
Yeah, no trailers yet. You could cosplay Hellcat.
That would be fun. The mask would be hard, but it would be fun.
What?
I do Jennifer Walters. Maybe I should just find a Hellcat.
Hellcat there's just the mask is like Batman's mask, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I'll get the like Justice League Catman mask and just like cover the whiskers with like the stripes.
yeah. Okay. What was your first cosplay? Here's a question that I wonder about, because you've done a lot of awesome cosplay. She by the way, again, she's on Instagram, Ødfel. We'll leave a link in the description of the video. What was your first and what made you get into cosplay?
So my aunt worked at Artist Alley at conventions. And that kind of introduced me to the world of cosplay. So my first cosplay was a closet cosplay of Sherlock from the BBC show.
I know what that means. Closet cosplay.
Yeah. But the first cosplay like I sat and made was Arlo Tess from BioShock Infinite, which was still kind of like thrifted and altered, but it was the first one I was like, okay, I'm making a costume. Let's go. So that was the first one I really tried hard on. And I did that, and I think Harley Quinn at the next con that I went to. Super ancient. We don't talk about my Harley Quinn costume.
How long ago was that? What was the first con you went to? What year?
It was, so the first one I like went to, but I was just kind of wearing street clothes as a costume as Sherlock, was in 2009. But then I didn't do a proper convention for like the whole weekend with costumes until 2015, I believe, was my first one. It's a water park convention. So,
what was the water park convention called?
Colossal Con.
Yeah, my friend Maddie goes to that.
Yeah, I'm in Ohio, so there's not many, but that one is one of the bigger ones in the area. So that was the first one I actually like went to. Like I bought a pass. I was there the whole weekend. Because before I just visited like my aunt's booth and I was like conventions. But
yeah, it's a lot different when you go by yourself, man.
Yeah,
Colossal Con. That's like half naked dudes and half naked chicks. Way to
it is. It is
cosplay game. Way to come into the cosplay game like that. That's awesome. Michael Edmonds' first cosplay was Prisoner Number 6. Taskmaster is unmasked and he's Vince McMahon. No. Saw the movie. Didn't happen. So do you think they made Red Guardian a little too weak since he got his ass kicked by Taskmaster? Keep in mind, though, he was in prison, so he hasn't been at the top of his game. He was a little older, too.
I still thought it was kind of weird they made a point to show he could break someone's arm wrestling, but then his punches really didn't like knock back Taskmaster much. So I was like, that's a little weird. But also they were really trying not to kill Taskmaster in that movie, so...
Yeah, they were, because they had to wait for the reveal, and then you had to,
But...
It's me, Natasha. It was me all along. All right. So, a 7 from this lady right here for the movie, 7 out of 10. A 6.5 out of 10 from me. And a lot of you all chimed in on what you would give it. If you're watching this later, by all means, please leave in the comments down below what you would give this out of 10. And yeah, we may come back and do Loki if Ødfel feels. Have you ever cosplayed as any Thor character yet?
I don't think so. A lot of people keep asking me to do Sylvie, but I don't think I've actually cosplayed any Asgardians yet. Who knows? I might at some point, but I haven't yet. So
I mean, you got to make it to that world premiere. So, just saying, maybe it's time to start on that cosplay. 7.5 out of 10. Thank you all so much for joining us. Don't forget to hit that like button on the way out. Ødfel, where can people find you when you're not hanging out with me, mapping my X-Men books and talking about movies like this?
Yes, I am on Facebook, Instagram, Vero, TikTok, and I think I said Instagram, Facebook, Vero.
I don't even know what Vero.
That's the other one. As Ødfel down below, as you can see, with the normal O for the username, of course. And then on Twitter, it is Ødfel with a 0 because someone has my username. And yeah, you can find me on pretty much every platform. Just Twitter is a 0.
Okay. So that's where you can find this lady. Don't forget to check her out when she comes back on the show for Matt by X. And yeah, we might review Loki together this week. It'll be a lot of fun. I need to catch up on that first. So thank you all for watching. Don't forget to hit like on your way out. Check us out on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We're also on Spreadshop and on Patreon. Great ways to support the channel. Thank you, everybody. And stay healthy. Stay safe out there. Much love.